listen to this episode, if you find yourself working too much on the inside of your business that you're never actually able to get enough done in the week in order to work on the business. Now, this is a topic that we started talking about last week, kind of like this difference between working as a small business versus a brand. We really started to identify what it means to want to make a couple extra $1,000s a month to really wanting to have a scalable business. We talk about this difference between, let's make it a side hustle and let's make it our full-time gig. And this is one of the biggest shifts that you need to make in order to turn that small business into reality, that big business that you want to have, really make it come to life. Ask yourself right now, if you were to disappear off of social media, out of your business, go on a vacation for 1 week, would everything come to a screeching halt? Like, would you not have any sales coming in? Would you not have any processes happening? Would your marketing stop working? Would your sales stop happening? Would your production stop happening? Would basically your business have to shut down for those 7 days? The difference in whether or not you can still see sales every single day, have consistent sales coming in every single day while you're on vacation, or everything coming to kind of like a screeching halt, is the difference of working on versus working in your business. Your business needs to be able to function at least a little bit without you. Your sales at least need to keep on happening. Your marketing needs to keep working without you having to be present and without you having to sell constantly in order to see it happen. Most entrepreneurs spend most of their time in their inbox creating product, at the shipping station, doing all of the things that actually get their product out there. But then they're busy complaining about their business not growing. My business is never growing. Yet who is actually in charge of growing your business? As a business owner, a major mindset shift that you need to make is you are in charge of being the leader of your business. You are in charge of really working on the business to grow it. And I know you're saying right now, Maddie, yeah, but it's just me. So if I'm not here, if I'm not working on shipping the stuff out, who's gonna do it? I hear you. I'm that same way. I have to work in my business. You have to work in your business, but we can find different systems, different strategies to make it where that can be less, so you do have more time in your schedule in order to actually work on your business as well. So today we are going to talk about how to identify if you're spending too much time working on your business, what that really looks like, and what are the symptoms of that, as well as the difference between working on versus working in, and then a 5-step framework of actually how to get out of this cycle and start to create time to actually work on your business. Before we do that, I just want to take a quick 10 seconds to say hello. My name is Madison Page. I am a business growth specialist. I am so happy that you are here at the Small Business Growth Podcast. I'm here to help you turn your small business into a brand. We like to teach in a fun, conversational type of way around here. I like to say it's kind of like sipping coffee with a biz bestie, where you and I are sitting across from each other having a raw and real and genuine conversation, sharing tactical and tangible business growth advice. So first things first, let's talk about the difference between working in versus working on your business. Now, working in your business is going to be basically daily operations. It's the things that needs to get done in order to develop the product and get the product out to the customers. It's going to be customer service. It's going to be answering customer service emails. It's going to be packaging up your product into boxes. It's going to be shipping it out. It's going to be creating new product, filling the jars, whatever that might be. It's going to make you feel busy, but it often keeps you kind of on that hamster wheel of constantly feeling busy, because you can always work in the business. There is unlimited things to do working in the business. There's unlimited things to do working on the business as well. But if your major focus is simply just the daily operations, especially if it is just you, there is nobody there working on the business, which means there's nobody there that is actually going to help you grow it, because working on your business is where the growth happens. Working in your business is just the operations of actually running the overall business. So you feel busy, but you actually feel quite stagnant because nobody is actually here to grow those sales. There's no momentum, there's no movement, nobody taking kind of these big, bold expansion stage actions. So then working on your business is looking at the long-term strategy, it's making big decisions, it's designing systems, it's automating, it's optimizing, it's refining your website, it's analyzing metrics. It's basically looking at the overall health of your business and trying to actually take action to grow it. These are the business growth strategies. And a lot of people get stuck working in your business throughout the week when working on your business is what moves you into the future. It's what actually helps you grow your business. Both of these are necessary in your business, especially in the beginning stages, is you need to have working in time and you need to have working on time. And what happens to a lot of people is they come to me and they're saying, Maddie, I'm so busy, but I'm not making any sales. I'm working so hard. Yet I ask them, what are the growth opportunities that you're taking? How are you trying to grow your business? And they're like, well, I'm posting on social media. I'm being consistent on social media, but posting on social media is actually working in your business as well. That is how we get people to buy. That is not actually working on your business. That is not strategy. The strategy piece of that is creating a marketing calendar, is creating a sales calendar, is looking at your branding, is looking at your numbers, is looking at your analytics, is actually posting content that is selling, that is content, that is marketing, that isn't just being consistent. And so a lot of times people get stuck in this world of I'm working so hard, but my business isn't growing, yet there isn't any of this on side, which is the visioning, which is the ideation, which is the strategizing, which is the planning, which is the organization and the systemizing. It's all of that more rigid business things. So kind of like that signs that you're probably working in your business, more like symptoms that you're working in your business is some of the things you may be feeling is you never really plan ahead because you like, who has time for that? I'll plan when I finally find the time. Like I'm just going, you're kind of more so keeping up. Again, it's kind of like that hamster wheel. The next one is you always feel like you can't get enough done in the week. It gets to be Friday evening and you're like, shoot, I just wish I could have done more. I wish I did that. I wish I did this other thing. Because if you fill your time working in your business, you still have all of these working on your business tasks that you feel like you should be doing. So you often feel guilty of, oh, I'm not really getting enough done because you're just almost doing kind of that that more in your task stuff. The next one is you're always saying, well, when that slows down, I'll do it. But you never do it because it never seems to slow down. Because if you're trying to grow your business, the working in your tasks are only going to increase. And so it gets to be kind of like this noxious cycle. You have to show up 24/7 in order to get people to buy on social media because your current marketing strategy has it where you have to post all the time. You have to have 12 Instagram stories in order to kind of like really push people through that buying cycle. You have to have launches. You really have to get people going. You might be burnt out, but you also feel guilty to outsource with the amount of income that you have right now, but you have too much on your plate and your revenue has kind of plateaued despite you feeling like you are working harder than absolutely ever. And I see where you're at. I've been where you're at before. This was me at my family's company as I was only working in the business, even though the working on my business, like I was the operations manager. It's like I really was the operations person trying to only work in the business, but I saw all of the areas that nobody was ever focusing on. Nobody was looking at the analytics of the website. Nobody was looking at the analytics of the social media, but we were all feeling like we needed to do some of these things despite the business still growing and us still being able to operate it. We were too stuck in the in instead of working in the on. And again, I understand you have a lot on your plate right now. You're probably saying, Maddie, this sounds great. I would love to not have to work in my business all the time, but like nobody is going to do it. We are going to talk about what this really looks like. First things first is I really want to give you this perspective shift. Oftentimes, people work where they're comfortable. They lean to where they're comfortable. They allow themselves to kind of spend the most time where they're comfortable in their business, and they prioritize what they're most comfortable with because their brain, it like keeps their brain happy, right? And because you may not know how to actually grow your business, you don't know how to analyze the numbers and know what that happens. You don't know how to create a content strategy that actually has content pillars and marketing. You don't know how to systemize your marketing. You don't know how to optimize your website to increase your conversion rates. you never actually dive into it because it feels like it's going to have to be something that, oh my gosh, well, I got to figure that out. Or like, it's going to be a lot of research. It's going to be a lot of poking around. It's going to be a lot of, it's going to be inefficient because you have no idea how to actually do it. So your brain kind of shuts it out as like, huh, I'll do that later. It's almost like one of those things that you like dread to do. But yet the strategy side of business isn't difficult once you know it. It's time to start switching to that systemized and that strategized growth approach because it's actually going to simplify a lot of that noise in your brain. I hear a lot at the end of working together that they just feel like a different sense of like stress-free because now they know exactly what they need to do. They're a little bit more organized. They know the strategy. They know the content pillars they have to follow. They know where to post what. They know what they have to do in these different areas, and they have a system in place, and they basically just have to execute, and they know exactly how to do it. So it takes a lot of this noise away. It takes a lot of the guilt away. It takes a lot of the shame away that you never actually do it. And it actually forces you to work on your business because you do know exactly how to do it at this point. So I want to start talking with the first, how many steps do I have? First 4 steps to really dive into how to start shifting into more of this CEO mode. And I don't call myself a CEO. If in your mind you're like, I'm a CEO, that's great. But what I really want you to think of yourself here is when you are shifting from kind of like this small business owner into this more like CEO role. In my mind, I like the word founder, this like founder role. You are being more of a leader rather than a doer. You are more of that like high level person. If you think of like a CEO, and they are a lot of almost like the big ideas person. They are optimizing, they're refining, they are futurescaping, they are looking at the long-term vision. As the founder, most of the time that is going to be you. Now, of course, you can hire somebody that is more of a strategy person if you are a creative, but I need you to look in your mind as the CEO. What would somebody be doing in your role if they were more of a head of a company as opposed to the labor of the company? You are a leader. You are not the labor of your company. Eventually, of course, that's something that we can build into. So step 1 is I really just want you to audit your time. Now, people say to do this no matter what you're doing. I do this when I talk about time management. I do this when people do this when they're trying to lose weight. They track their food for 2 to 3 days just to get a good idea of where your baseline is. Where are you at right now? And what is really happening within your overall week? And I want you to identify within every task that you do, write it down. Is this something where you're working on, or is this something that you're working in your business? And I bet once you start to look at that, all of your working in tasks are going to be at the forefront. We're really looking at the ratio here, and you need to have a very minimum of 30% of your time being spent working on your business. Otherwise, who's going to do it? Because if you have somebody hired to do your shipping, or if you have somebody hired to do your production, still nobody is working on your business. Even if you hire somebody for marketing, even if you hire an ads agency, there still is nobody that is looking at your website to optimize it. There is still nobody doing a lot of those working on tasks. Your working on your business is absolutely necessary. So step 1 is I want you to write down everything for 2 to 3 days and really start to bring to light, are you mostly spending your time working in your business? Then 2, I want you to realize that this time is made. It is scheduled within your calendar. So you need to start making time for, like people call it like a CEO time or deep work time or whatever it looks like for you. You're working on your business time. Now this can be 90 minutes at the end of your workday. This can be a full day in your calendar, but you need to start scheduling it into your calendar and making it a non-negotiable, because again, your brain is not going to automatically do this. Your brain wants to keep you where you are the most comfortable, which is the making of your product, the shipping of your product, because it doesn't actually take much brain power other than creation. It's where you are comfortable. And so I want you to start planning this time in. When is it? Even if it's your Sunday night, even if you add it into your Sunday evening power hour, which is something, again, highly recommend that as a non-negotiable as well. But I want you to start scheduling it in. Now, just to give you a little bit of an insight, and of course it depends whether you're full-time, whether you're part-time, whether you have a team, all of this is very dependent. We're just bringing different perspective changes to you. For me, in my calendar, I could work in my business all day long. I have to work in my business. I am somebody that can't outsource everything because I am my coach. I am the coach of all of my clients. I have client work and I have to work with my clients. It's what I love to do. It's not something that's wrong, but I do also have to work on my business because nobody else is going to do it. So I have had to do this exact same thing. So for me, in my 5 days, I've been full-time in my business for a very long time. My Tuesdays and my Thursdays are my working in my business days. I take all of my calls. I do some client feedback on those days. And Tuesdays and Thursdays are my primary working in my business days. I put that all together so I don't have this random call at 2 p.m. on a Monday that kind of throws off my working on my business days. I have put my working in my business days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do still have some tasks that's working in my business on my plate. So in the morning, in my calendar, I have a message cleanup, which basically just means to go into my emails, goes into my DMs, goes into my texts, and see where I need to respond and catch up on all of my messages. I also have a client check-in. So I have private messaging with all of my clients, and in the morning, I go and I check in and I do a client check-in every single morning. Those are all things that are working on or in my business. Those are things that are just kind of operational tasks that are actually executing what I am selling. But on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually Fridays are my creative Fridays is what I call them in my head. And like today's a Friday, I'm recording podcasts. I might be creating content for the next week or two for my social media. I might be making some creative changes onto my website, some different things. So some of my Fridays are working on my business, but even creating content is working in your business because this is something that that has to go out. It is part of my sales process. It's how it goes. But my Mondays and my Wednesdays are primarily working on my business days. Every week, I know what my primary working on my business goal is. I know if I'm optimizing my website this week, if I'm trying to switch over my Spotify to my podcast over to a different network, or I am reaching out to people to be on their podcast, or I'm making changes here, I'm making changes there. I know what my major working on my business tasks is every single week, and I do those on Mondays and Wednesdays. I could fill my time every single week with working in my business if I didn't set these boundaries within my calendar. And so I recommend this for you as well, as like you have to schedule in some of this like CEO time, this working on your business time. It is a non-negotiable. The next step is that you need to build systems for the working in your business work. The reason that working in your business right now and the marketing and the sales and like if you step away, everything else kind of, crumbles is because you're working in your business isn't systemized and isn't organized. So some of the things that you need to do is we need to optimize your marketing to work even when you're not working. This is something I call having kind of passive sales systems. This is when I talk about a seamless sales system that I teach my PTP clients this is what I'm talking about, is really systemizing your marketing and your sales to still work even when you're not working. It's adding tripwires into your marketing. So when people find your profile, when you aren't actively posting, they can convert themselves. On your website, we have little tripwires to get people to go through a sales process. We are optimizing your marketing and your sales process to work even when you don't have, so you don't have to show up 24/7 to make it happen for you. I have clients all the time say that they didn't post for 2 weeks, but yet they were still making pretty much the same amount of sales just because they had some of these systems in place and people were still finding them. They have new people coming in and systems in place to convert them into customers. You want to use tools to automate your system as well. So email flows, can we make templates anywhere possible? Can we batch content on a day? That's a big one. So then when you're creating your social media, you can have some of that all situated. Another one is hiring. That is something, even if it's 5 hours a day, even if your outsourcing is hiring somebody to come and watch your kids on Mondays and Mondays and Wednesdays for you to be able to fully work on the business as opposed to needing to work in the business and watching the kids, it makes a big difference. Even if you're hiring somebody just to ship out your orders, if it's 5 hours a week, it doesn't need to be something that costs you thousands of dollars. It doesn't need to be bringing somebody on full time. You can bring somebody on to work for you 1 day a week for 5 hours, and it can make a really big difference. The next one is really understanding that when you are working on and like working to develop your business, all of the working on your business makes working in your business easier, because the working on your business, you are going to implement strategy, you are going to implement organization, you're going to implement processes that makes everything more simple. And my clients say this a lot, is like, once they know their content pillars, marketing gets to be a lot easier, because they're like, all right, I just have those 4 pieces of content. I post it every week. Let me cycle through the different topics, the different pillars, the different kind of themes within my content. Bang, bang, boom, it's done. We can get it out there. Working on your business isn't really about racking your brain to like come up with the best ideas. It's just learning what you're looking for, identifying it, mapping it out, planning it out. It's about organizing, planning, strategizing, and it makes everything else a lot easier. So a lot of times the overwhelm of running a business is because you haven't taken the time to organize or to learn that strategy or to systemize or to automate, so things are working even when you're not working. So you have to do everything manually. Organization in your business allows you to have a handle on what needs to be done and how to do it efficiently. Strategy simplifies that questioning that you are forever doing, and it actually makes everything easier. A lot of my clients at the end of PTP, they say, Maddie, I just feel like a weight is off my shoulders. I feel like I have a lot less chatter in my brain, because you now have days where you're working on your business. You're able to get kind of everything that you need done, because you have this non-negotiable time, and you know when you step away, people are still buying, people are still inquiring. I know that if I didn't post on Instagram for a week, if I stepped away from social media, I know we're planning our wedding, we're planning our honeymoon. I know I'll be able to step away for a week or two for our honeymoon, wherever we decide to go, whatever we decide to do. And I will still have marketing happening. I know I will still have leads happening. And I know I will still have like things working inside of my business. Now, I haven't outsourced a ton of things, but I know just from my marketing, without even my like anybody that works for me, any virtual assistants that I have, anything like that, even without them, I know I would still have things working, and this can work for you too. Step 4 is you need to think like a company. If you are thinking like a side hustle, your business will stay a side hustle. You need to start thinking like a brand, like a company. And in my to-do list every day that I make for myself, I have at the top, what would $10 million Maddie do today? Because I want to look at my tasks today as what would that person be doing, and I want to do those today. Would $10 million Maddie be prioritizing having 0 emails in her inbox? Would $10 million Maddie be prioritizing, making product every single day? What would that person be doing? And you have to do that now. If this were a brand, if your brand was the brand that you want it to be, long-term goals, you are in anthropology, you're in all these stores and you're making $1 million a year, what would you be doing differently, and how can you start doing that today? We need to make decisions based on scalability, based on growth, based on the future, not just what's comfortable and convenient for us to do right now, not just where we are right now. We have to make decisions based on where we are trying to go. You, as the business owner, need to prioritize long-term growth over this short-term comfort. Like I said, and I see this a lot, that a lot of people never work on their business because the working in their business is what is comfortable. It's what they know how to do. It's what they know how to do well. It's what they've mastered, because it's making their product, it's shipping their product, it's getting it out there. They've been doing it the longest. Whereas working on your business can feel a little bit more defeating. It might be, reaching out to a bunch of people that are going to tell you no. It might be trying to figure out social media, not really understanding the strategy. It might be looking at your analytics and being like, Maddie, what the heck do I do with these numbers? I hear you. I understand you. However, we have to do the uncomfortable. Comfort is what keeps us where we are. We need to push into discomfort in business. I am doing things I am uncomfortable with all of the time in business. And I know that is just part of being business. And so I don't really even sense discomfort. I pitch people all the time without even the curiosity if they're going to say yes or no, because I'm just trying to see how it goes. If the yes happens, that's great. I'm not going to criticize myself if it's a no, because it's something scary. We just have to detach a little bit from the actual outcomes of what we're doing. We are constantly doing things that are scary. And if you don't feel like that in business, odds are that you are staying too comfortable. Odds are you are staying too small. Odds are you are holding yourself inside of that comfort zone. So you can't really scale something that you are constantly buried in. Working on your business is what makes you a leader. You are not the labor. So I want to say this just in general. If you are somebody that can hire in your business right now, even if it's 5 hours, even if it's 10 hours, even if it's childcare, no matter what you are hiring, you can hire for this as well. You can hire somebody for production. I would recommend hiring for your weaknesses. If you are a marketing person and you love marketing and you love the spreadsheets and more of the business side of things and the working on your business, you're just too enthralled in your business because it's what you all have, then I would hire production. I would hire shipping. Then I would hire, actually somebody to make the product and, to manage your inbox, do some of those things. If you are somebody that is more of a creative, if you are somebody that is more of I just want to make the product, I have to paint my paintings, then maybe you need to hire somebody. Either it can be for childcare for you to have the more time, or it can be somebody coming in to do your marketing. It can be somebody to come in and analyze your numbers. It can be somebody like me, have a strategic advisor. That is very common within the industry, is for these product-based businesses to the original founder is kind of a creative. They're a visionary. They made something that everybody loves, but they don't have that business side of their brain, so they have a strategic advisor. Walt Disney was the creative. He was the visionary. His brother was the strategy behind his business. Kate Spade, she is the designer of the jewelry and she manages the brand, but I think it's her husband that is actually the COO and really running the business side and really looking at those things. Glossier, same thing. She knew she had a great product. She knew how to make the makeup that she really wanted, but she also knew she didn't know how to scale a business. So she had this strategic advisor come in. I believe his name is David, something like that. They come in order to provide you that strategy. So hiring makes a really big difference. These major steps, first things first is I want you to audit your time. You really understand where you are at your baseline right now. Step 2 is you need to schedule in this CEO time and make it a non-negotiable. Even if it's 1 day a week, just say your Fridays are your CEO days. Those are the days that you have to work on your business. Even if it's, 90 minutes to start, that's better than just what you've been doing is just never actually prioritizing it. And understanding when you do schedule this time in, it's going to make the working in your business easier. It's actually going to grow your business and it's going to move yourself forward. The next one is you have to understand how to build the systems for the business. This is the optimization, the systems, the automation, all of those different pieces, organization, strategizing. You need to understand what that really means in order to do it efficiently. And last but not least is you need to switch your mindset into thinking like a company, working in that more in that bigger sense. Think what would your $10 million self do and start acting as that person now, because it will come sooner. You didn't start your business to stay stuck doing absolutely everything forever. And it's a frustrating cycle to be in because you are working so hard that it feels like you're working 80 hours a week all the time, because you might be, but because you're never working on your business, you don't have these systems, you haven't optimized anything, you haven't strategized anything, your business is never growing. So you're just stuck at this same level working in your business all the time, never actually working on, which means your business isn't growing, which is just this ever changing cycle. This is also a cycle that many people that feel burnt out are in. They're burnt out because, again, they're constantly working, but they're working in their business. So their business isn't growing, which means their income isn't growing. And then they're like, why isn't my income growing? Yet they're never working in their business. They're never working on their business. They might be posting on social media, but they're not doing it well. They're not putting a lot of time and effort into it. They're not strategizing it. They don't have a plan for it, but they're just you're more so trying to get by rather than being strategized and organized and put together with it all. You didn't start your business to stay stuck doing everything forever. You started your business to create freedom. And that begins with starting to act like that $10 million self or that founder self that we're always talking about. So what would that person do? Do a visualization exercise, write it down, ask what would that person do, and start acting as that person today. I hope that this was helpful for you. I just hope that it was eye-opening to change your perspective a little bit. And are you really just working in your business? Is this the root of a lot of your frustration? If you really want to build this scalable business, you have to take time away from the in to work on the on. It's absolutely necessary. You have to push outside of that comfort zone, and you have to understand what it means to even work on your business at the same point. Only 40% of you are actually subscribed to this podcast, yet you are coming back every single episode, which means you're wasting your time typing it in, trying to find the episodes when you could just subscribe or follow the podcast, and you will be either notified or it'll pop up in your feed every time a new podcast goes out. Make sure that you click that follow button. Make sure that you hit that subscribe. It helps you. It helps me in order to grow my business, grow my production, grow my podcast, as well as it helps get this podcast out to more businesses who also need it so they can get the support as well. So click that button, click that follow button. It makes a really big difference for me, for you, and for other people as well. I will see you in the next episode. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I'm in your corner always. And I truly mean that.